Tape Deck Media.
Welcome to Hosstown.
I'm Taylor Ruddle.
I'm Matt Lilly.
We are the mayors of Hosstown. Let's start the show. Welcome back, citizens of Hosstown, to episode 3 of Hosstown. My name is Taylor Ruddle.
I'm Matt Lilly.
And we are the Dons of Hosstown.
Hostons.
Yes, exactly.
Papa Dons. Hostons.
That's right. Glad to be back. We have, I think if you're watching this now, you're watching this on our YouTube channel. I have uploaded the videos. The first episode, we got a whopping 3 downloads. And episode 2, man, look at that. Bada boom. 6 downloads right there. We've doubled our listenership since the first episode. So delighted to have you along for the ride. Before we get into the topic of today, Matt, do you want to tell the citizens of Hosstown about the show you've got coming up the Monday after this episode drops?
Yes, Monday, 1st of July, 7 p.m, Galaxy Bar. Fun Day Laughs. First Monday of the month. We're starting a new comedy show. It's going to be at Galaxy Bar, Barbados Street, Christchurch, 7 p.m. Get there. Taylor's going to be on it. I'm going to be hosting it. Yeah.
But don't let that put you off.
Don't let that put you off. Plenty of other funny comedians like Matt Terrible, Georgia West Cahill, Miriam Collins, Ben Veers, and even Gad. That's the lineup. That's everybody. So,
we'll chuck the link to that in the show notes. So, what are we going to be talking about today, Matt, in today's episode?
Well, you know, we've gone this long, all this way into this podcast, and we haven't really given many great examples of hosses. You know, sometimes people, you know, to fully understand what a hoss is, you kind of need to see real life evidence. So we had this idea to list off some of the all-time hosses, the greatest hosses, the best hosses, some of the hosses that have had the biggest cultural impacts.
Yes.
And we're going to do that through doing a Hoss Mount Rushmore.
Or Mt Hossmore, I think we've been referring to it.
Mt Hossmore. So
we're going to be we've each chosen 4. I had to Google how many people were in the real Mount Rushmore, and it was 4.
Can you name them?
No.
Abe Lincoln, George Washington, Teddy Roosevelt, and there's one other more. It might be. I'm blanking. Anyway, I normally know US presidents. Sorry for that dead air for 20 seconds as I try to search for US presidents.
That's okay.
None on this list. Actually, we'll chuck them at the end.
Well, I'm sure the humble listener knows. Yeah. So we thought we would come up with a list of 4 hosses that fully, they are the hoss of the hoss.
Yes.
And have contributed to hossness in their own ways. So we have got a list of because it's very hard to narrow these things down to just 4 each. So what we've done is we've got a long list of honourable mentions and then a slightly shorter list of dishonourable mentions. So we're going to try and rip through those fairly quickly because we've got a lot of people on this list. Shall I start? Because the first one on the... So honourable mentions of the Mt Hossmore, starting here. So the first one here I thought was Samwise Gamgee from Lord of the Rings. And you have not seen Lord of the Rings?
No, unfortunately not. Call me a Kiwi. You know.
your visa just got revoked.
Yeah, that's it. Sorry, Peter Jackson, don't haunt me. Anyway.
All those members of the New Zealand immigration are scrambling for their phones.
Maybe because I just hate Wellington, and it's because Weta Workshops, Peter Jackson's Wellington. You know.
Have you been to? No, I've never been to Wellington myself.
I was there about a month ago. Yeah. It was horrible. Anyway.
Well, that's right. We did declare war on the whole Wellington comedy scene.
I'm sticking to it.
Hey, Wellington, we can beat you on a good day. We're going to beat you with bats.
Well, you may beat us on a good day, but we'll beat you the other 363 days of the year. So
we wait until you're having the worst day of your life, and then we spring up out of a dumpster behind you with baseball bats.
But please book us for shows if we come up there. So,
Jerome, big fan of your work.
Yes.
Danny, and I don't know anyone else.
Anyway, Lord of the Rings, Samwise.
So he's a gardener, which is I feel like gardening is one of the few honest jobs left in the world. He is. I'm not even sure how I explained Samwise Gamgee. We sort of had a chat off camera, but he is basically even the author said that he is the true hero of the Lord of the Rings.
Okay.
The whole thing with the ring is it corrupts you and it sort of whispers into your ear and it makes you think that actually maybe you should be the one who is the Dark Lord and whatever. And he is slightly tempted, but he's one of the few characters who completely resists the pull of the ring. And he's just a loyal friend. And he's repeatedly called Fat Hobbit by Gollum. So yeah, I thought that's why he was eligible for the for the Hoss honourable mention. So what's the second one on the list there?
Well, Tank Abbott, he's an honourable mention. MMA legend, early UFC days. Just a big husky fellow that can fight real good.
Yeah, and I feel like Tank Abbott gave a lot of husky guys a real undeserved confidence, because I feel like, you know, that guy that you know who like hasn't stepped foot in a gym for the last 15 years, but he still thinks he could fight. And I think dudes like that would sort of draw power from seeing Tank Abbott, and they'd be like, yeah, that's me. That's exactly what I would do in that situation. But
I'm sure I know that guy. Yeah.
I am that
guy. A little bit of that in all of us, I think. Yeah. Pick your sport. Pick your profession.
Exactly. Yeah. So speaking of hosses and sports, my next one is Hakuhō, the sumo wrestler. I basically described him to you before as the Michael Jordan of sumo. Yes. He was so dominant that I think, you know, that wrestlers would do 50 matches over the course of like a tournament, and he would have like 2 losses on his thing.
Impressive.
Yeah.
Impressive. Was he also like Michael in terms of like the merchandise? You know, Michael Jordan had the shoe that, you know, he revolutionized the basketball shoe game. Did old Hakuhō, did he sell like personalized thongs? Like
the Mawashi, I think they're called.
Mawashi, the sumo thong?
He didn't, but I feel
get me one.
I feel like that's a gap in the market there.
There's a gap in something.
The thing I liked about Hakuhō is like, so the sumo is all about tradition, and it's like when the two because the only rules of sumo are like both your hands touch the ground, and that's when the fight starts, and like you're supposed to run straight at each other, but Hakuhō was more of a strategist where he would sometimes step back and push them down, and like he would do certain moves like clapping in front of their face, which would make their hands come up, so then he would grab onto their belt, and like, I don't know, I just liked that
he's crafty.
Yeah, he didn't buckle to tradition. He was all about winning, and you know, he was often criticized for using like cheap or dirty tactics, but I mean,
you're saying sumo culture, which I imagine, you know, honor and respect is quite high. That would be
tradition is very yeah. I think we could probably do a whole episode on sumo, but we'll move on to the next one. Who's the next character?
The next one we have, we've already had a fictional character, but this character is fictional, but he feels real.
Tank Abbott, he was the fictional character?
No, yeah. But no, Shrek, of course. The great myth story, the mythological hero story of Shrek.
He really is, isn't he?
It is. It's going to be, you know, like, it's going to be one of those myths that we pass down generations. Like, you know, if we had a meteorite hit Earth, wipe everything out, and we're going to have to rebuild society back, you know, all technology's gone. We're going to build on the myth stories of our time. And they're going to be Shrek, Harry Potter, Twilight for the female. That'd be like the woman's story that
Logan
gets passed
Paul.
down. Logan Paul, yes, Logan Paul.
He's going to be in there.
Yeah. But those are going to be the new Gospels,
the cornerstones of the new world.
Yes, but no, Shrek. That's his influence. That's his impact.
I feel like Shrek did a lot for body positivity for men, though, because he's a husky sort of fella. Like,
did he? Because he was still called an ogre. An ogre was still a derogatory term.
That's true, yeah. So in universe, no. But like, I know a lot of girls who their crush was Shrek in his ogre or human form. So as you can imagine, I benefited from...
You're saying Shrek helped get us laid? Is that what you're trying to say?
Well, there was attempts made. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
You know, you still have to close in a situation like that. But he certainly helped open the door.
Yes. You can't use his moves you can't just eat a raw onion in front of a girl. That'll be... To be fair, he did that in front of donkeys. So. Anyway.
So the next person on the honourable mentions list is Brendan Fraser. And I felt like Brendan Fraser should be on there because, you know, he's lived his life as a handsome man, and then he bulked up a little bit, and then I think he sort of, you know, he obviously had some awful stuff going on in his life, but, you I think he's a little trimmer now. He doesn't look as sort of heavy as he was, but like he's been through our experience is kind of what I want to say there. He's got those leading man good looks. I don't know. I like his work. I think,
Well, once a hoss, always a hoss.
Yeah, exactly.
So it doesn't, your hossness, like, it's not necessarily tied to that. So
you can take the man out of the hoss, but you can't take the hoss out of the man.
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect.
Yeah, next one, we're going to the comedians here. We haven't had a comedian yet, but Ralphie May.
Yeah.
Kind of like the legendary hoss comedian. Big,
Yeah.
kind of, there's a few we could put on the list, but Ralphie May, for his kind of influence and especially that kind of, the internet, with the early internet comedy era.
Yeah.
That's when he kind of blew up, but yeah.
There's also, if you're an amateur stand-up comedian out there is a fantastic talk he gave. I think it's called the Ralphie May Stand-Up Mastery Talk, where he, I think it's been an hour, maybe an hour and a half of him at a comedy club just giving wisdom to young comics.
Yeah.
And have you watched it?
Yeah, I watched it.
Yeah, full of good wisdom about just like the business side. Like I always say this, so many comics don't think enough about the business of show business. They think way too much about the show and then they get taken advantage of and that sort of thing. So it's a good watch. Word to the wise, he drops a lot of slurs in it that haven't aged particularly well. So just be aware that those are coming. And if you can get through it, I think it's well worth watching for the wisdom that the thing contains. I don't want to sign off on what he says, but he does drop a few slurs, which I didn't like hearing with today's ears. Next one on the list is Jelly Roll. So like you said, he's relatively. He's been around, but he's relatively new to the public eye in the sense that he just won, I think it was like the Emerging Artist Grammy or something. Is that what he won?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, like Breakout Star or something like that. Yeah. Well, he's kind of like, because he's everywhere. And, I'm not definitely not a country music fan, but I've listened to a couple of songs. He's pretty good. Yeah. But he's definitely, in terms of, he's on his way to get, like, in 10, 15 years, if he's still where he is in terms of the public notoriety and he keeps putting out quality music. Yeah, he could be on Mt Hossmore before it's all said and done. But
he could well be. I think it's fascinating the fact that country music has come back for this generation, because it was Beyonce did her country song. I'm forgetting his name, but there's like a young guy singer who a lot of Zoomers that I sort of know in passing.
Morgan Wallen.
Yeah, yeah. What is his song?
I don't know, but he's out there. Luke Combs is another one. There's a bunch of them, but they're coming for a New Zealand perspective. I know they both came recently and sold stadium shows. It might have been I don't think it could have been just Spark Arena or something, but I'm pretty sure it was either Spark Arena 4 shows or something like that. Or it might have been Mount Smart Stadium. Anyway,
I'd be really curious to know what the demographic of the people that bought it, because the interesting thing about if you're an international touring artist listening to this thing now, just this is good advice to you, but you can sell pretty well just based on the fact that it's something to do. You know what I mean? People will come out to see. I think it was the Red Hot Chili Peppers or something like that, which I have never met a person who was they're my favorite band. You know what I mean? I've never met a diehard Chili Peppers fan, but I knew so many people that went to the concert. And I think it was just because you're going to go along, something to do. So
I also heard everybody went to that concert and they played none of their big hits and all their new stuff, and everybody hated it because no one's listening to the new Red Hot Chili Peppers. It's
so that's one. We'll probably talk more of this. This will be a recurring theme in Hosstown, but I find it so fascinating the difference between the life of a comedian and life of a musician, because let's say you're in Blink 182, you wrote all these songs when you were 21, and that's mostly what people want to hear. Like you say, people don't really want to hear the new stuff from certain bands. No. And I saw a comedian or radio guy was talking about it. He said you kind of have to sneak the new stuff off your new album in between the bangers that everybody wants to hear if you're a musician. Yeah. But then us as comedians, unless you're Bert Kreischer with the Machine story, or Jim Gaffigan with his Hot Pockets story, or
Andrew Dice Clay, I think it was because he was more a character, so he was.
Yeah, he could play the hits. You can't do that.
I think Jerry Seinfeld does that a lot. I remember watching a thing where he turns over material very slowly, he'll add a new 10 minutes every 2 years or something like that. So you've seen him once you see him 3 or 4 years apart. He's doing mostly the same hour.
Yes, I did hear that myself actually. So, but Yeah, so whereas a comedian, people always just want to hear the new stuff. I'd love to, like, after doing comedy for like 20 years, do like the hits thing where you bring back all the stuff you do, like
just like pepper it in, like do it in a way where you're taking the piss out of yourself.
Yeah,
it's like,
I just graduated from university.
Yeah,
I've got like grey hair and a beard.
Yeah.
All right, we spent
married for 15 years.
Yeah, I can't get a date with anyone.
Tinder jokes in 2045. Just
we spent way too long on that one. Who's the next one on the list?
I'm not sure. Who is this next one on the list?
Uncle Iroh.
Yes.
So if you've ever watched Avatar: The Last Airbender, he is he's Zuko's uncle, and he's like just this amazing character who's everything he says is like some like great wisdom phrase, and he's just he's the embodiment of like the old dude who used to be like a bit of a hothead but has since found inner peace and knows that there's nothing to really be gained from beating his chest and being like a in your face kind of loud alpha dude. Like he has that kind of calm confidence of like someone who's really been through it and has actually come out of it a better person on the other side. And yeah, he's a little chonky. Like he talks about how the stomach is like the source of your power. It's like a great ocean, and then he refers to his as like a vast, vast whatever. I can't remember the word he used. Vast ocean. I didn't want to use the word ocean twice. You know, little comedy trick there.
So just used it 3 times.
I know. I'm just but yeah, Uncle Iroh. He's just a great character, and he's a little chunky. So I chucked him on the list. So the last one, and we weren't sure about this one, whether it should be honourable or dishonourable, but yeah, who is it?
Well, I mean, I don't think it's Winston Churchill. But why would it be dishonourable? Because, are you on the other side?
No, so I'm neutral. I don't know how I feel about him.
Okay.
Well, the thing with Winston is like, he did, beating Hitler was great.
Thanks, bro.
But what has he done lately? No. Beating Hitler was great, but apparently he held a lot of very racist views about like white people are the chosen race and that sort of thing. So look, maybe not so different from Hitler.
If there was ever a time to say this, it was a different time. Let's get that out there, okay? I mean, all right, let's I don't want to make a political statement I don't believe in and don't want to make, but Winston Churchill beating Hitler, we can forgive a couple of things, okay? All right, that's all I'm gonna say.
Fair enough. Yeah. The thing I find I didn't realize how old Winston Churchill was during that war. I thought he was in his 50s or something. You said he was like 73 or something, right? I
think so. Again, I'm not a historian, but yeah, I'm pretty sure because that's why he looks like really disheveled and like quite like.
Well, that's
old. Like his face is because he was old and it was back in the 40s. So like. You think, certain politicians now seem old. Like, they would have been,
just a skeleton walking around.
Well,
the thing with Winston Churchill that I found, I feel like this embodies a great thing of Hossness, is that, like, he was a real, what's the word? Not glutton as such, but, like, he drank almost constantly throughout the day. He was pretty much always smoking on a big cigar, and then I believe he did enjoy a bit of the old... food and drink. And there's some fascinating videos. You can watch them if you're on YouTube now. Search this. People have tried to keep up with him drink for drink throughout the day, and they go through his drinking regime. And people are just staggered that he was able to function and basically win World War II while drinking this much throughout the day.
Maybe that's the key.
Yeah, that's what the politicians now should be.
Well, I think maybe that's what the politicians keep doing.
But yeah, I don't know. I just found I feel like he's a fascinating character because of he wasn't exactly a healthy person. Do you know what I mean? Like that's the main takeaway. He was.
But again, it was 1945. Was healthy even a word in the Oxford Dictionary back then? I feel like it's alive or dead back then. Like, there's not a lot of middle ground. Like I feel like you were sick for like 2 days and then you were gone. Like,
the fever would take you, or you would recover. Right? Yeah.
Yeah. So I think like these ideas of modern health And like, you know,
we shouldn't hold these modern day standards with hand washing and antibiotics to to the figures of the past. Okay, I'll let you have that one.
Yeah.
I'll agree with you there. I think you've convinced me. So let's get on to our dishonourable mentions.
Yes.
So this is a personal one of mine first. So let me make this disclaimer: I don't know who Laurel and Hardy are. To my understanding, they were a comedic duo. The only photos I can find of them are black and white, so I assume it is sometime, the early sort of what 1940s or that kind of. I don't know when they got colour TV, and the reason I have such umbrage with this, again, never seen any of their work, but like anytime an old fella comes up to me at an open mic and he starts to say to me, you know who you remind me of? And I'm like, he's going to say Laurel and Hardy, but he just can't remember it. And they go, oh, bloody, and they're like, it's on the tip of their tongue. And I'm like, he's going to say Laurel and Hardy. And they do every time. Yeah. And it makes me want to just leap across the bar and pummel them. Because the only thing that they're reminded of is that I'm fat. And that I don't know which one it is. I don't know whether it's Laurel or Hardy. I don't know which one is the heavy one. He's also got a Hitler mustache, which sort of ties that nicely back into the Winston Churchill era, but
does it anyway?
Well, he fought against Hitler.
Yeah. Charlie Chaplin mustache.
Yeah, it wasn't inspired by Hitler, probably. Yeah. But and what is so annoying about it is the old boys think that they're like going to endear, like, this comedian you remind me of, and I'm going to be like, oh man, what a great honor, sir, to be compared to this comedian that I have no idea really who it is, but just the fact that like our outline is kind of the same. So again, nothing against Laurel and Hardy personally, but if you're an old Kiwi bloke, you're not giving me a compliment. I know you think you are, but stop it.
Just stop.
I beg you.
Just stop giving compliments.
Stop talking to me.
I haven't known an old man over 60 that has ever given a good compliment. Like, they give compliments, but like you never feel great about it.
No.
My old man's the worst for that. Like
What, have you got any examples?
I don't know. He'll just tell me that like it's always with comedy too. He's just like he'll be like, you're pretty funny for a comedy show of 12 people. Like,
so he reminds you of how many people were in there.
Yeah, something along those lines. Anyway, I don't want to.
I've always I think we can explore this more. I think you're onto something here. Old boys do not know how to give a good compliment. I think that's because like the culture up until recently is like, I don't think men really said kind things to each other.
No, exactly. Yeah, we'll give them credit. They're trying.
Exactly. They're learning. They're figuring out what like I've had.
Basically, the only compliment you used to get was you weren't terrible and shit.
Yeah, exactly.
It was as good as you could get.
You just sort of get a grunt. What I always like is when you ask old boys coming out of a comedy show, you're like, oh, they're like, oh, thanks. And you go, do you have a good time? And they go, yeah, nice to do something a bit different. And
that basically, I feel like I interpret that as them saying, yeah, it's all right. I won't be back.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I've done it, and I shan't return. But
it's like doing a salsa dancing class.
Yeah, exactly. You do it once, and then you go, cool. I've had that experience, and I don't need to. I don't need to have it again.
Yeah,
but I'm grateful to have had it in the first place. Okay, so you suggested the next one, so you go ahead and take the lead on this one.
Another one, DJ Khaled. Do I really need to say anymore? He just. He's an influencer. He's not really much. He is okay. He makes big songs. He's the most annoying music producer in any genre.
I do think it's quite funny to refer to him as a music producer. I'm sure that would piss him off.
Yeah.
Not being called a musician.
Well, he's not really a musician.
He's not.
No, he's kind of a collector of artists. And
he's like Thanos.
He's a parasite on the music industry.
There we go.
He's a fat leech sucking on the.
Well, he sounded like a pretty reasonable fella now.
Fat leech.
Yeah. Some of my best friends are fat leeches. So DJ,
what are they living under your bed?
So DJ Khaled, he is it Khaled or Khaled?
Khaled. DJ Khaled.
Khaled.
Another one.
I used to do a joke about how I look like a white version of DJ Khaled.
Yeah.
Which to mixed results, let's just say.
Have you seen the video? He's into golf now. I've only noticed it because there was a viral video that he's playing golf. He's playing golf. He's like he hits a putt on the green. He sinks the putt, and then he just looks at the camera and just goes, Gatorade.
I have seen that actually.
Yeah. I was just like, fuck you, DJ.
I feel like golf. We could almost fill another podcast talking about golf as like a.
Well, here's an honourable mention that I forgot about. John Daly. John Daly's a golfer.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
He's basically quick. He won a couple of golf majors. He drank. He smoked. He was fat as shit. But he hit for the 90s. He was the longest driver on tour. He hit the ball the furthest. He was so up and down and erratic. But when he got it together, he beat everybody.
I love it.
He had a couple big duels against Tiger Woods when he was first coming up. It was wild. Anyway.
Is that because he has a lot of mass to work with?
He was just like the most naturally gifted athlete that never trained or did anything about it.
I love
he
it.
probably practiced golf a little bit, but he was thick, but then when he got later in his career, just got really fat.
Yeah. My favorite, a good friend of mine plays golf. I don't think he's listening, but Jake, if you're watching, he told me about this fantastic story. Like, I love how dudes think that we got to be good at golf. It's just it's just like a men's culture. Like, dudes just like, I've got, they just have a golf set for no reason, like kind of thing.
Do, yeah.
There you go.
I did go through a golf phase like once, like 2 or 3 years ago.
Hell yeah.
I just don't have the temperament for it.
No.
I just got too angry.
But Jake was telling me about he overheard this group of lads, well, not lads, they were old boys, warming up, and he's like, the guy did 2 practice swings and let out like an audible groan after both, and then he was like, all right, I'm ready.
Unlocking the bat, just opening up.
Yeah, open the vertebrae.
Oh, couple swings, off she goes.
That was my favorite part about judo, was doing the first throw of the day would always crack my back. I'd feel it shoot up my back.
Nice. Yes.
So then the next one, we sort of shuffled this next figure.
Well, yeah. Again, controversial figure. I almost had him so high that he was almost on my Mount Hossmore, but he did do some unsavory things. Again, King Henry VIII. Again.
Was he the head chopping one?
Yes.
Oh, okay, right. Yeah.
He had chopped a bunch of his wives, had 8 wives.
Not a feminist figure then, I think.
Glutton, used his power in very oppressive ways. But again, different time.
You got to let these things go.
I'm not saying it was good either back then. I'm just saying it was a different time.
Yeah. I'm curious about, so he had famously 8 wives, was it? After he kept
8. I think it was 8.
Yeah, well,
and I think he chopped like 3 of their heads off, because it wasn't until like the 4th one that he had, because initially the first one he tried to divorce it, but because that was when the Catholic Church was still with England and stuff, and then they were like, no, you can't divorce against the Catholic Church, and that's when he made the Church of England, so then he could divorce them.
So it's the Catholic Church's fault, really. It's not. No moral failing on Henry VIII. Like, what are you going to do in that situation?
I might have had it mixed up. I think he chopped them off, and then it was but then he
and then they were like, oh, dude,
but then he married the Princess of Spain,
right?
And then he knew if he chopped her head off, Spain weren't going to be very happy,
right? Yeah.
So then that's when he was like, I just need to divorce her.
I need to figure out a way.
And so then he created his own church,
right?
Not to get war with Spain. Yeah, that's right. That's how it went. Sorry, I'm not a historian. I'm a Hosstorian.
There we go. That's a t-shirt right there. Hosstorian. Yeah. Henry VIII. What was he? King of? Was that at the point where England was unified, or was he one of those like like Charlemagne was like the king of the Normans or whatever, and then eventually I think it was like Edward the Conqueror or something, like grouped them all together. But I'm guessing Henry VIII was like England as a whole.
I think so. And
let us know in the comments,
because he made the Church of England.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
So it was the whole of England. Yeah.
So
I think his daughter might have been Queen Mary of the Scots. So then that split, or that came. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway.
Man,
don't come here for historical facts. Come here for hossness.
Historical
facts.
All right, so the next one here is Eric Cartman from South Park.
Again, I almost would have said he should be on the other side of it. I wouldn't say he's that dishonourable.
Well, again, he's a grey creature.
He did kill someone's parents and feed them to them.
Yeah, that was a shocking episode. And he's also says some pretty horrible stuff. But like, I guess he's very iconic, isn't he? Like he's such a pop culture kind of, you see t-shirts and stuff around and everything. I'm not super, like, I've watched South Park, but I'm not super familiar with it. What else can you sort of share about Eric Cartman?
Well, he's kind of the epitome of just the fat kid that, like, he's not so much, he's kind of just summed up as a kid that just is the early 2000s kind of kid whose parents just didn't give a shit. Because, like, he can eat whatever he wants, he does whatever he wants, he bosses his mum around, like, you know, screams at it, tells him what to do. Yeah. And then and then bullies all his friends but can't take it himself.
That's right.
So it's kind of, he's just the epitome of the worst possible kid that was raised in the worst possible way.
Fair enough.
But he's great.
Well,
and he's got some redeemable characters.
He's certainly entertaining, isn't he?
He's kind of the vehicle to be able to do everything horrible. Like, he is the character they use to be the bad guy all the time. So
every story needs a heel, don't
yes.
they? All right, so we've almost filled up the podcast just talking about the dishonourable mentions. Okay, so here we go. Next one here, Robert Baratheon. He is the king in Game of Thrones at the start, and from what the reason I put him on dishonourable is because, like, well, for one, he hit his wife, which is not cool. And then I believe also was, like, rampantly cheating on her with basically everything and everyone that moved.
Different time.
Jesus. It's a fantasy book as well. So
different time and space.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I don't know. He was apparently like the muscular sort of jock. He was I believe the phrase they used was muscled like a maiden's fantasy, which is just doesn't it just paint pictures in your head. I think we're all picturing in our head right now what young Robert Baratheon looked like. But yeah, he won the throne, and the reason I put him on dishonourable is because he's that dude that, like, he doesn't actually get to know a lady, but he has this idea in his head of what she's like, and he's in love with this idea of her. You know, we've all done this before. Well, I certainly have anyways. And he's just fixated on, like, who he thinks she is and not who she actually is. And I just think that's a toxic trait that a lot of guys have. So hence dishonourable mentions there. And then last one. This one, again, could be either side of the fence, but James Corden.
I'm on the dishonourable side of this.
You're on the dishonourable side?
I'm on the dishonourable side of this fence. I think he should be hung and lynched.
That is a strong statement.
Yeah, that is very strong. Maybe cut that one out. Anyway.
Actually,
that's all right. No.
Hang on.
No.
We stand by
it. Fuck him. Anyway.
James Corden. But, like, from what I've heard, he doesn't... this is the whole thing. Like, people always talk about, like, Alan, like, the whole don't look me in the face, like, make sure you have fresh breath when you talk to me tyrant thing. Like, I love that Alan was a tyrant, by the way. I think that was hilarious. But yeah, apparently Corden doesn't really know his staff's name, which is a bit of a taboo in late night. And you said something quite interesting. You said when he had that freak out at the restaurant, people were like, "Finally, we've got something we can use to, you know, we knew it. He was horrible all along, or whatever." And
not finally. I don't know if it's the only evidence, but it was just a case where people were like, "See, he's a bad guy." So that's
we told you.
Which, I don't know, to be fair, I think about James Corden exactly like 2 times a decade. So
yeah, exactly. Like I will say as well, the reason he might have made it on the honourable side is because his rant about Indian food from Gavin and Stacey was incredible. I'll try to chuck a link to it, but basically he's ordering. I guess, how do you feel about this when you do like a takeaway order? Do you prefer to have your own stuff, or are you okay with the shared spread on the table? And everyone kind of just has little bits and pieces.
I think it depends on the amount of people. I think if you're going like 6+, then share it.
Then a spread.
Put a spread on, you know, because I quite like having a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of good. But yeah, if it's like 4 or 5, then you give me mine.
No, that's fair. Yeah. So he just does this incredible rant about how he's like, I ordered all this stuff because I want it. This person's ordered that, which is useless to me. This person's ordered that, but like they're all definitely going to have mine. So he gets very territorial about his food. And then I think he says, no, I want no part of it. I'll eat it. I'll order my own and I'll eat it in the car, which is just a tremendous line. So for that, I feel like he's a bit of a fence rider. Okay. 34 minutes into the podcast, we're finally up to the piece de resist hoss. We're finally up to the Mt Hossmore. So how do we want to do this? One each, or should we go through my list and your list?
I reckon we go one each.
One each?
Yeah.
Okay, so shall I start? Mine's first printed there. So first on my Mt Hossmore is Jack Black. And again, I don't know if I have to defend this decision. I feel like anyone watching is like, yeah, I get it. We could just talk about some of his highlights. You mentioned Poe from Kung Fu Panda.
Very honourable hoss, the sloppy hoss that becomes the disciplined hoss, takes over the world.
Yeah. I remember reading a comment somewhere that said Kung Fu Panda did more for body positivity than like 20 years of culture did. So I think that's great. I think School of Rock he did, which was incredible.
Yes.
One of my favourite movies still. A really comforting watch, I feel like. But I think, we'll get a little serious here, but young men, if you're watching, look at Jack Black as an example of how to be like authentic, if that makes sense. Because like I think there's a whole thing at the moment with like I don't want to latch too much onto buzzwords and stuff, but like the whole Andrew Tate kind of like Sigma grind set, what young guys don't realize is this thing has been around forever. Like it's been called Red Pill and some other things, like Pickup PUA, I think was what it was like before that, and like this whole thing has been around, and like do not waste your money on these books and friggin' like what is it like a what is that thing you
course?
A course, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
like
subscribe to Hoss University, guys. We'll teach you how to be the best Hoss you can be.
Yes, yeah. But like, what I want to say is like to young dudes, like you look at someone like Jack Black, who is like very popular with women, and because he's like authentic and he's like joyful and he's like supremely confident and he's very good at what he does, and like these are the real aspects you should be sort of seeking to attain, rather than this kind of peacocking of like, what is Andrew Tate's famous line, like, what colour's your Bugatti, and like all that kind of drivel. Like, don't get me wrong, like I think Andrew Tate advocates for fitness, which is like something I obviously have to work on myself. But a lot of this pickup artistry stuff about like, here's all the steps that you take, like a woman through on a date to like get her to sleep with you. And it's like, you don't need to waste your time with that flow chart in your head. Like, just be authentic and be like, I don't even know how to like summarize this. I feel like I should have thought about this beforehand, but like, just look at Jack Black. do what he does. Just be joyful and be authentic and be like, he's not trying to impress anyone. Do you know what I mean? Like he just is what he is, and it's like, it doesn't matter who he's in the room with. I feel like Jack Black is going to be exactly the same, and I just think that's more admirable to aspire to than like being this cool dude who's like a sort of sociopath and changes depending on who he's talking to, and yeah, I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Spoken like someone who's never seen Andrew Tate. No, I'm not.
Spoken like a true virgin.
All I'm gonna say, Taylor, it was a different time. No, yes, Andrew Tate. Yeah, I don't even. It's escape the Matrix. That's what he says. He's trying to tell you to escape the Matrix. That's his quote.
Yeah.
Don't buy his Hustles University course. It's a waste of $250.99.
Yeah.
I don't know why I know that.
There's no like, you're trying to get that charge reversed on your credit card. I sure am.
It wasn't me.
No, I don't know. People are always looking for like some shortcut or some magic button to push, and I just feel like Jack Black is a great example of like, just like be unapologetically yourself, and then like good. You will encounter people that are like, good for you, and you're good for them, and you'll kind of latch on, and then that'll be your circle. So I waited on for far too long there. What is your first one on your list there?
My one, well, I remember in episode 1 we were talking about how, like, if we were to have a leader of Hoss Town, how there would be a Hoss Olympics.
Yeah.
Well, if where it was, certain physical things that a Hoss had to do. If we had to do any of those physical things, all time, the best Hoss at any of them would have been Andre the Giant.
Andre the Giant.
Andre the Giant, the Hoss of Hosses, the king of the absolute. If Hoss,
the king of kings.
The king of kings. That's a different person.
Like he's Jesus.
The king of kings. No, but if we were to turn Hoss down, if we were going to take it from a pseudo democracy like it is now, and made it into a religion, he would be the Hoss god.
He'd be the
Hoss god. It'd be Andre the Giant. Like, he'd be. There's so many legendary stories. Like, if you don't know, he was a wrestler through that. I think 70s. Did he start?
70s to
70s,
kind of like,
80s.
Yeah, probably a little bit of the 90s.
Yeah, early 90s. 7'4", from the middle of nowhere in France. Absolute, like, massive man. He had giantism, so that was the reason. Like, he was huge. Like, he would, like, you know, have...
There's a great photo of him holding a beer can, and it's
yeah.
like this big in his hand kind of thing. I don't know if you can,
And speaking about drinking, notorious drinker.
Yeah.
Notorious drinker. He would, like, drink, like, 48 beer case in, like, a 2-hour road trip.
Yeah.
It was just unreal. And then just, yeah.
Was it due to he was in pain quite a lot, wasn't he?
Yeah, but well, because
it was before they'd figured out like why gigantism was a thing, right? And it's like a small tumor pressing on a gland that just keeps telling your body to keep growing. I think, is that right?
And it can get quite painful. And then on top of that, he is wrestling and taking bumps and stuff. Which on top of it,
because that was the thing about Andre is he's very generous in the ring. Is like, if I remember correctly, that when it was the territory days, his whole like traveling act would be like he comes to a territory, he fights their champion. He wins the title, you know, does a few shows and stuff. And then the end was always, you know, that famous thing of Hulk Hogan slamming him. So, like, that would be the end to their thing would be the champ finally, you know, he finally picked up the giant and slammed him and then you can move on. So, like, you know, a guy that big doesn't have to take bumps for anyone, but he was very generous in the ring, so which unfortunately deteriorated his health a little bit. But, yeah, should we... one quick story about Andre I should get in. This episode's going to be an hour, but it was a long boy today. So the other Andre the Giant story is he was going in for surgery and they had no idea how to give him sedation because he was so off the charts in height and weight.
Yeah.
So they asked him like, okay, after how many beers do you start to feel a tingling in your fingers? And then he told them however many it was. So then they were like, okay, well, you're this big and this big. So, like, this is what the ratio of beer to blood was. And they used that to sedate him to put him under for surgery, and it worked. So,
that's crazy because anaesthetists, like, if you go too much, you're dead.
Yeah.
Like, it's
you just don't wake up again.
Yeah. So
what a high-pressure job that must be. Okay.
Yeah. Some of the highest paid doctors actually are anaesthetists.
Yeah, I want those guys to be well taken care of, and I want them to know what they're doing.
Yeah.
So number 2 on my list of the Mt Hossmore is he Mexican? Mexican boxer Andy Ruiz. He might be Mex-American, I'm not quite sure, but he, for those of you who don't remember, he was a sort of doughy looking boxer who knocked out Anthony Joshua, I think, in a title fight, and then immediately lost it in the rematch, I think, because he claims that he was training during the gap between the first and the second fight, but then if you looked on his social media, he was really eating good. And
I think he also weighed in like 15 kilos heavier.
Really?
Ridiculous, yeah. It was only 6 months later too.
Yeah, and you know, I feel like Andy Ruiz has to go like for one. Like you look at Anthony Joshua and you're like, there's a fit man who he's in shape and he's like, and Andy knocked him out. I've heard there's all sorts of actually I think he might have been. It has now come to light that Anthony Joshua was suffering from like basically pre-concussion or post-concussion or something, and so that was why he was like, it was weird because he wasn't even really knocked out. It was like he just couldn't get up before the ref counted for 10, which counts as a knockout in boxing. So it's not like Andy like you know put him to sleep with his punch or whatever, but you know that's the rules of boxing, right? And then you know people criticized Andy for living well in between his title fights, but you know that's exactly what I would have done in that situation. I would have known that it was my 15 minutes might have been up soon, so you know enjoy it while you can. He was doing interviews and stuff, and that's why I feel like he deserves number 2 slot on my Hossmore.
Andy Ruiz, like, I followed his career closely because back in the day he actually should have won 2 world titles in my opinion, because he, back in the day, fought Joseph Parker.
Right. In
Auckland for their, like, they fought, when Joseph Parker won his world title, he fought Andy Ruiz for a vacant title in Auckland. And he won by a majority decision. A lot of people thought Andy Ruiz won that. So
you got robbed, Andy.
He is a good boxer. Like, he's been around.
He's great.
It wasn't like a complete fluke that he beat Anthony Joshua.
He's real quick.
He's real quick, and then also, like, because he's probably like 6'2" fighting 6'6" guys.
Is he that big? Wow.
Yeah. So like, he is still, you know, he's a big man. He can really throw it.
Yeah.
But I think it was more. I think it was evident that he probably, it was 6 months between. He probably trained pretty hard, but
he was living pretty hard as well.
He was living pretty good.
And there's a lot of videos of him like eating like a hamburger and like being like, "Don't tell coach" and stuff like that. So like, but you know, that's what being a hoss is all about. Is just getting away with it for as long as you can.
He's a world champion.
Yeah,
he won millions of dollars.
Yeah,
who's going to tell him how to live?
Yeah, exactly. What are you gonna do? All right, who's number 2 on your list?
My number 2 is really just like, I think, and when you talk about Hollywood hosses.
That's a great sounding there. Hollywood hoss.
Hollywood hoss, and somebody that has proven that a hoss can be a leading man in a movie, and you know, a leading man in so many movies, and a supporting character, just a great all-round actor in general. Number 2 on my Mt Hossmore is John Goodman. John Goodman, you know, so many heartwarming movies. Just the kind of actor that like you see, and he's like a comfort actor.
Yes.
He just, you know, like he's gonna give a good. Like, even, because there are a few movies where he's playing, you know, not necessarily, he doesn't always play the good guy.
Yeah.
But he is very much like a babyface kind of actor. He's a good guy to root for, but like, just a lot of range.
What are some of your favourite John Goodman movies?
You put me on the spot.
Well, I can give you mine.
Yeah,
I think so. He's not even really a main character, but he's in The Gambler when he gives the speech about it's called I don't know, I won't use the actual word, but it's FU money because you know YouTube and that. He says you know, if you get up 200 million, whatever it was, Marky Mark's character was in the hole for like 2 million or something, and John Goodman's character tells him, you know, if you get up $2 million, here's what you do. He's like, you buy a house, get a 25-year roof installed on it, buy like a shitbox Japanese car that'll last forever. There might have been one other step, and then the rest of it was just chuck it into the bank and then live off of the interest. And he's like, that way you're at this glorious position of FU. And he's like, you know, if you buy, like, he's like, you keep living your life. And he says, don't drink as well. That's another one. He says, you keep living your life, but just to know that you don't have to take it from anyone is like the best feeling ever. So, basically, I don't know whether it's actual sound financial advice, but just because of that scene in the movie, that's basically been my plan. If I ever somehow come into a large amount of money, is I'm just going to do what Mr. Goodman says and hope it works out. But Monsters Inc.
Monsters
was great
Inc.
as Sully.
Is a great one. Yeah, he's great as Sully. Yeah, that's probably one that had me really like. I actually one of my nicknames growing up, maybe as a teenager, was Sully.
Really?
People called me Sully. Someone said I had a similar personality to Sully. So
that's a compliment.
Yeah, it is a compliment. You know, that could have been in the honourable mention. Sully from Monsters Inc.
Yeah, we put Shrek in there, so yeah, Sully.
Yeah.
I feel like that combo, Billy Crystal is Mike, and then Sully, just great combination. They do comedy at the end as well, which is great. So that's great. All right, you got anything else for?
No, that's about it. Yeah,
even the Flintstones, I think, was quite cool. Something weird about that movie is like, I think because it was taking a beloved cartoon and like making it live action, something just felt so familiar about what is their town, Bedrock or something?
Yeah.
Weirdly familiar. It's almost like a place I'd been before, and just I don't know, watching that movie and like all that, seeing like the car but like real, and it's got that weird shiny kind of plastic, you know, like those like it doesn't even look like rocks, you know, it's like clearly props. I don't know, something about that film is just it's very comfortable. So number 3 on my list, and we're gonna have to use that. It's a different time excuse me, for some of this, but a comedian that I watched probably 20-ish years ago when I was much younger and sort of getting interested in stand-up comedy is John Pinette. I think that's how you pronounce it. I feel like it should be Pinette, but he pronounced it John Pinette. So, big guy. Did a lot of food, a lot of buffet, a lot of like fat jokes, that kind of thing. He did have other stories that were great and stuff, but like he was more predominantly known for that kind of material. It's a different time, and the part I don't want to co-sign off is he also did a lot of ethnic accents, which hasn't really aged that well. When he was talking about going to like a Chinese buffet, you can imagine what sort of stuff he was doing there. But I learned that he died the year I started doing comedy, so my bad, I guess.
His comedy career is reincarnated into your comedy career.
Exactly, yeah. So Sorry, world. But I took John Pinette from you and gave you all this. Have you ever watched John Pinette before?
I've seen clips. I've definitely seen clips.
Yeah.
yeah, just really, it is kind of like, in terms of the hoss, like there is like an archetype of the funny hoss.
Yeah.
Like as you know, it's the joyful,
Yeah.
it's the jolly fat man, really.
Yeah.
You know, it's like he's got I think it also, there's like a long history. I think a lot of it comes from like sort of drinking culture, Irish and English bar culture.
Really?
Know, just the picture. Just, you know, there's always that guy that's always there at the end of the bar that's got something to say.
Yeah, okay. I think you're right there, yeah.
Yeah. That's you know.
Well, because that was so fascinating about watching old episodes of The Simpsons. Is like Homer and his friends used to just sit in Moe's, and they would be there for like the whole day.
Yeah.
And I think we're just after that kind of generation, right? Like that. My parents never drank, but did your dad ever go to the pub and just be
more
there?
like he went to like sports clubs because he was big into sports. So it was kind of the same thing, but it was more a once a week thing.
Yeah.
It wasn't like every week, but but it still happens. Like, I live just down the road from a pub, and so I walk past it and drive past it quite often. And like there's people in there like Wednesday 3 p.m. just same people. Just, and it's like they're there every week.
I wonder how people afford that. Like, do you think it's pension?
Part of it, yes. And then also, I don't know, like sometimes people will probably just spend 50% of their paycheck on that. So, yeah.
We did this gig at this pub in Christchurch. And I don't know if you've ever been in this situation before, but it was one of those ones that was not well advertised. And so by the time that we, the comedians, turned up, it was mainly just the people that were there for their Thursday drinks. And like they weren't really that into the comedy, and I felt really bad doing my set. Yeah. But like it's one of those ones where the owner's real for it, and so you're like, well, I guess we'll do the show, you know. And yeah, that was the vibe I got, is that they would have been much happier just sitting there without us trying to do jokes at them.
Hard to get someone to laugh that wasn't there to laugh. They
wasn't expecting comedy and would rather just chat with their friends.
Yeah.
So number 3 on your list.
Number 3 on my list, going into the sports world here, we're going Shaq. Shaquille O'Neal. Shaquille O'Neal, you know, known as probably one of the best basketball big mans of all time. One of the best centers, just late 90s, early 2000s, just an absolute dominant force. Kind of took the mantle from Michael Jordan. After him, he became like the best player in the league. Yeah. And then he kind of ironically passed it on to Kobe Bryant, even though they played on the same team. So they dominated together on those early 2000s Los Angeles.
So I was going to say, like, for basketball, in terms of like the guy, the order of succession, it was Magic Johnson.
Well, you would have gone, Magic Johnson into Michael Jordan. Yeah. Well, would have gone if we go back from even further, probably Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Oh, yeah, okay. Into Magic Johnson. Both of them played for on the same team on the Lakers, kind of crossed over there. And then Michael Jordan, Shaquille O'Neal, then Kobe Bryant. It was a real, crossover, pretty quick crossover into LeBron James. And now...
You were telling me about this the other day. There's like a guy that people think maybe is the guy.
Well, I think if you asked anybody who the best player right now is, they'd say Nikola Jokic. Because he's won 3 of the last 4 MVPs. Won the title last year with the Denver Nuggets. And he's like just a different kind. He's a big Serbian 7-foot center.
Is he much of a hoss, or is he like
He's actually, he's a bit of a hoss. Not as much as Shaq, though. But he's kind of a different breed where he's like a really good passer of the ball, really good shooter of the ball.
I've heard
he also can... is big and
there was this,
and he hates basketball. He loves horses. Like, it was a funny thing last year after they won the NBA title last year. Like, he's in the press conference and they'll ask him like, "Oh, will you be at the parade in Denver on Wednesday?" And he's like, "Wednesday? No, I need to get back to my horses."
he's just shooting 3-pointers like immaculately, and all he can think about is, "I can't wait to get home and see my horses again." Yes. I like that. I feel like he deserves an honourable mention for that. I saw a great meme. It was what was it? It was a guy chucking I think it was a spear, like a javelin in the Olympics, and they shot it in slow motion, and he just like winds up and like puts his entire body into the thrower, and it just looks insane because he really arches his back and stuff. And it was like, what was his name again? Sorry,
Nikola Jokic.
Nikola Jokic. It would be like the thing was captioned as just Nikola Jokic after the whole team puts on this like amazing defensive display, and he just
it's a meme like because like it's like he's great at it. He just like the way he shoots, he kind of chucks it like that.
Yeah, that's why.
And then he's great at just throwing it from almost half court. Like
I love it.
Yeah.
So then, what was like Shaquille O'Neal? He big personality, I think, because there was a whole personality. Like, Shaq Fu and stuff, right?
Yeah, he raps. Shaq raps.
He's a stand-up, a little bit of stand-up.
He's a DJ now. Nice. He has a PhD. He's just, and one of the things, like, because I'll mention him as well. So at the moment, he is very active on TV. Like he's on the show Inside the NBA, which is like the big like pre-show. It's on like the TNT network, who just lost the rights to a lot of the NBA, so it's actually going to be ending at the end of this next season. But it's basically him and a couple other guys. But the two main stars is him and another hoss, basketball hoss, Charles Barkley.
Yes.
Who, the two of them go back and forth. It's just, they've been doing it for 20 years, and it's just the best entertaining show.
Because you said Barkley was comparatively short guy, but because he was real stocky, they weren't able to like muscle past him or something.
Yeah, and also there was a famous story like, and when he was coming out of college, like, he was the best player in his year in college, but he fell down the draft because people were concerned about his weight.
Oh,
that he was going to be like
story of my life.
Yeah, that he was going to be that he was going to take it seriously enough, to be a good enough athlete, kind of thing. But his story was that he purposely put on like 20 pounds a couple of weeks leading up to the draft because he didn't want to get drafted. I think it might have been the Washington Wizards who had the top pick. So he just didn't want to go to them because he didn't want to go to the worst team.
He was sandbagging them.
Yeah. So then he fell to like number 5 and went to the Philadelphia 76ers.
And was he happy with that?
Initially, yes, but then they were terrible when he was there, and that wasn't until he left them and went to the Phoenix Suns that he like made the NBA Finals, lost them at Michael Jordan. But he's known as one of the best players to never win a title. So
love it. I love a just like a second place kind of thing. Like this is a good place to. I think actually honourable mention for horses are Secretariat, the racing horse. Because
a horse, okay, yeah, go on.
Well, I mean, what was the guy called?
I'm sorry, I thought you just forgot what the name of the podcast was. You were it's Horsetown, guys.
No, the what was the basketball player that loves horses?
Oh, Nikola Jokic.
Yeah, I feel like he would approve of me putting Secretariat on the honourable mentions list, because this is the thing. So Secretariat was like a generational talent. His heart was literally twice the size of a horse, like his like a normal horse, I guess.
And it was full of love.
Yeah, exactly. And then the thing is, like, so Secretariat's biggest rival was a horse called Sham, and the really unfortunate thing for Sham is like Sham also was a generational talent. But it just so happened that he was in the same era as Secretariat. Like, if he was in his own generation, he would have been as dominant as Secretariat was in his thing. It just so happens that, like, it'd be like, you're a good, you would have been like I guess Scottie Pippen, right? He would have been Michael Jordan if he wasn't playing with Michael Jordan. Have I got that analogy correct?
No, not quite right. He would have probably been like the 10th best player.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, let's just pretend there's a guy who was really good, but he just also happened to be born in the era of Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
That's kind of like Sham. And so I have a soft spot in my heart for Sham because I just feel like it's a beautifully tragic sort of story there. Shaq and Charles Barkley, anything else to add?
No, just they're the ball and horses.
Alrighty, so my last one, my number 4 of my Mt Hossmore is a professional wrestler called Samoa Joe, and you've probably never heard of Samoa Joe.
No, I've heard of Samoa.
Oh, you have Samoa. Okay, so what I like about Samoa Joe is like he's the epitome of like the chill hoss, where he's a little chonky, but like he's still clearly in good shape, and he does like martial art, like he does like jiu-jitsu and kickboxing, and like his stuff looks really legit. Like he looks like he could probably actually beat you in a fight sort of thing. And he just has this kind of like there's never been any backstage stories or no scandals where it turns out that he's actually a horrible locker mate to have. And whenever there's been other, like CM Punk famously had his backstage stuff with AEW recently, and you see that like Samoa Joe, there's like footage of the incident happening, and Samoa Joe is like the first one to run in between them and get them separated. And like, I don't know, he just has this sort of level-headed kind of wise, chill energy about him, and I feel like that's just it's something I would like to hopefully aspire to, is to just be that kind of be that sort of solid and chill, and hopefully never have any sort of backstage issues or any kind of scandals or anything like that. And then also he's very smart with his business. Like, he managed to keep his trademarks for Samoa Joe, so that when he eventually did go to the WWE, he could just plug straight in with all his merch, and you know what I mean? Like, he did that transition real well. He was in a company called TNA for a while, which was like the sort of second wrestling company for a while. And he kind of made his name there. And then by the time he went over to WWE, he just had all his ducks in a row. And I don't know, I just thought that was very admirable that he kind of did everything classily. And so for that reason, I quite look up to Samoa Joe. Anything to add on Samoa Joe?
No, kind of just reminds me of certain other people in the fighting world that could have also been on this list. But yeah, Samoa Joe, I'm vaguely aware of him. I'm vaguely aware of that him and CM Punk, like, were kind of like the darlings of like the indie wrestling scene.
Yeah, they go way
time.
back,
Yeah. So, Samoa Joe, I remember seeing a little bit of him when he was in WWE for a couple of years when I was vaguely aware of him. But yeah, definitely a solid hoss.
I was devastated because he started doing a vlog series where it was like him following him on his loops on the road.
Yeah.
And he only did like 2 episodes and then he stopped. And I just want more. So Joe, if you're watching, please make more vlogs. I would love to watch them. Okay, so the last one on your list, and then we'll wrap it up.
Yeah, so going back to fictional, this one's definitely a personal one. This isn't going to shock anybody why he's on the list, but Hagrid. Hagrid from the Harry Potter series.
Does Hagrid have a last name?
Not that I'm aware of.
No, me neither.
No, he probably does.
Cher.
Yeah, he probably does, like in the credits, or if you read the book. I never read the book.
I'll have to Google
that. Just Hagrid, just the wise old sage, kind-hearted big man. But really, like, if he needed to protect those kids, he could throw down. He could throw down,
I think Hagrid's an interesting one. I feel like it was Robbie Coltrane who played him, right?
Yes.
Was the actor. I feel like he really nailed that. Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like a lot of our fondness towards Hagrid is because of Robbie's portrayal of him in the movies and stuff. And it's like you said, he's just a comforting presence, isn't he?
Yeah. We won't ask why he spent so much time around young kids, but it fit in the movie, he was a teacher or groundsman, caretaker, something like that.
Well, I think the thing with Hagrid and why he was, because he was the one who dropped him off with his awful, what are they, his cousin, his uncle and his aunt, right?
Oh no, he's the one that picked them up. He was the one that like told him, he was like, "You're a wizard, Harry."
Yeah, but even before that, like, I think the book starts with Hagrid dropping him off there. So I always felt like Hagrid kind of was like, he felt kind of responsible for him in a way.
Well, he was kind of Dumbledore's like right-hand man.
He was,
He kind of did all the dirty work for Dumbledore.
He was the fixer of Hogwarts.
Yeah, he was. He was like the
consigliere.
Very much so.
to the Don Dumbledore.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, Hagrid's a fantastic one, because didn't Robbie pass away kind of recently?
Yeah, I think it was probably about 4 or 5 years ago now, but yeah.
Rest in power, King. Yeah, no, fantastic. I remember there was that documentary about the making of the movies, and I remember he got quite emotional thinking that, like, he's not going to be around forever, but, like, his portrayal will. And so, yeah, I think he was right. Like, that's his portrayal of that character will hopefully live on. I don't know whether they'll ever do a remake of them. I think with all the controversy with J.K. Rowling and stuff now, that might be a bit of a tricky sell to do a remake.
I mean, they got 8 movies. I don't think they're hurting for it. Yeah, so
they've got all these spin-offs and stuff. But I think Hagrid's a great one to end it on. I can't really think of anything else to add to that. You?
No, just that's the Hossmores. The Mount Hossmores. We should erect a Mount Hossmore somewhere.
I'll try and Photoshop. I'll see if I can do a Photoshop. I don't know if it'll be out by the time this releases. Maybe for the social media.
Maybe, yeah.
Let's quickly recap our list. So my list of the Mount Hossmore: number 1, Jack Black; number 2, Andy Ruiz; number 3, John Pinette; and number 4, Samoa Joe.
And I had Andre the Giant, number 1, John Goodman, Shaq, and also Charles Barkley there too, to go with Shaq. And then finally Hagrid.
All right. Well, thank you for tuning in to episode 3 of Hosstown. I'm thinking we're shooting for about 9 listeners now. Or if we're going to double, 12 listeners. 12. So, if you enjoyed the show, please tell someone about it. Send them the link. There's heaps of clips. I've really done up the YouTube page now. There's clips going up all the time. So heaps of content there. Where could the folks find you if they want to see more of you, Matt?
Matt Lilly Comedy on YouTube, Matt Lilly Comedian on Facebook, Matt Lilly 9 on Instagram.
And I am, as always, Taylor Ruddle Comedy on all the platforms. Go and follow me on TikTok. I've ended the Hater series. I felt like I was kind of scraping the end of that barrel, but I'm posting clips of this and clips of my normal podcast, which is Ruddle Me This, which you can find on all good podcatchers. I'm trying to figure out if I should put that on YouTube as well, but for now, I think I'm just going to leave it as an audio-only thing. So thanks for listening. Don't forget to get to Matt's show on Monday.
1st of July.
There we go. 7 o'clock?
7 p.m. Galaxy Bar, Christchurch.
All right. Well, that's the end of the episode. Thanks for tuning in. Check in on the last Friday of next month for another episode of Hosstown. I don't know why the cat hands.
Thanks for listening to Hosstown. Don't forget to share the episode and leave a review on your favourite podcatcher. See you next month. We'll see you then.
This has been a Tape Deck Media production. Thank you for listening.